Hare Krishna. I think we'll make a start. So thank you all so much for joining me. I've got a very interesting topic today, and would like to make a start straight away because we want to finish on near to the time as possible. So quick prayer, please. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Uh, Okay, so thank you so much. Today we talk about Maharaj Nimi, who meets the 9 Yogendras. Now, Maharaj Nimi, we're going to be discussing this for the next 3 weeks because it's a very important and very interesting topic. And so it's quite a big topic. We want to discuss it over 3 weeks, speed it up. So Maharaj Nimi asks 9 questions. We can't cover them in one class. So we'll do 4 questions today, as I put in the chat box, and we'll do the other 5 next Friday. And then week after that, we'll see what happens to Maharaj Nimi before he leaves his body. So right. So Maharaj Nimi, he's the son of Ikshvaku, Maharaj Ikshvaku, the ancestor king of Janak, the mother Sita's father. So it's that lineage they're coming from. And as you all know, the 9 Yogendras are the sons of Sri Rishabhadev, who we discussed before, is the master of yoga. And Sri Rishabhadev is accepted as an expansion of the Supreme Lord Vasudev. And he incarnated in this world to propagate those religious principles that lead living entities to ultimate liberation. He had 100 sons, all perfect in Vedic knowledge, and the eldest was Maharaj Bharat, as we know, with the story with the deer and Jad Bharat. So Maharaj Bharat was the eldest son, and 9 sons were known as the 9 Yogendras. So we'll continue. So to explain the devotional service of the Lord, sages have related the ancient story of the conversation between the great soul of King Veda, which Maharaj Nimi is also known as King Veda, and the sons of Rishabhadev. The conversation between Maharaj Nimi and the 9 Yogendras is also called the Nimi Jantaya Sambad or the Jantaya Gita, and this comes in the 11th canto. So once in Ajanabba, the former name of the earth, obviously a long time ago, they came upon the sacrificial performance of the great soul Maharaj Nimi, which was being carried out under the direction of elevated sages. So, who came? The 9 Yogendras came. There was a yajna going on by Maharaj Nimi, and the 9 Yogendras they appeared there. So, King Veda, he understood that the 9 sages were exalted devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, overjoyed at their auspicious arrival, he offered them suitable sitting places and worshipped them in a proper way, just as one would worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Maharaj Nimi was very exalted, and he knew uh, when an exalted person came how to treat them, and he would recognize them very nicely that they are exalted. So he gave them a lot of respect. And now Maharaj Nimi, the king of Veda, took the opportunity and without wasting any time, and that's one of his qualities, that he didn't like to waste time when he had the opportunity, asked the following 9 questions of the 9 Yogendras. He thought, well, but the exalted devotees here, let's take some advantage, and this is what we should do when we get opportunity, ask questions. The saintly sons of Rishabhadev, the transcendental answers to these inquiries were given by the great devotees. The 9 names are, so he asked 9 questions to the 9 Yogendras, who were Kavi, Havir, Antariksha, Prabhuda, Paplayana, Avirhotra, Drumila, Chamas, and Karabhajan. So these Paramahansas answered the 9 questions. So the first question he asked, as is in the chat box. What is the highest good? In other words, what is this Bhagavad Dharma by which we can attain the highest good? So the first of the nine Yogendras, Kavi, begins by explaining that Bhagavad Dharma is essentially the process that has been devised by the Supreme Lord for the sake of delivering all the living entities of this world. So, what is the highest good? What is Bhagavad Dharma? So, the process is explained that it is a process by which one can realize the Supreme Lord Himself, and is very easy and sublime process. In fact, so easy that even if one is not very scholarly, one doesn't know too many scriptures, still one can attain the perfection of life. So Kavi goes on to say that Bhagavad Dharma is to offer whatever one does with body, mind, words, senses, intelligence, etc., to the Supreme Lord with devotion. So, in such a situation, when one is absorbed in serving the Lord, one will become free from fear. Fear arises because one is forgetful of Krishna, and when one involves oneself in service to Krishna, then there is no fear. Therefore, the way to get rid of Maya is to become a pure devotee. And how does one attain pure devotion? First of all, so the way to get rid of Maya is to become a pure devotee. And how to become pure devotee? So first of all, one may understand that nothing in this world is separate from Krishna. That's very important to remember. And when we start thinking of things separate from Krishna, then we fall under illusion and fear. But when we start seeing things, the connection of everything in this world to Krishna, see it as the Krishna's property, as his energy, then we start becoming Krishna conscious. Secondly, we have to constantly, or as much as possible, hear and chant the glories of the Lord in association of the devotees. So, hearing and chanting is always recommended in Srimad Bhagavatam as a priority, and at the same time, we should consider everything belongs to the Lord. When we are not the Lord's, we are the servants, and everything belongs to our Master, and we just use it as His property. So, when one does that more and more, then the blissful effect of chanting the Lord's names and the pastime starts manifesting in the heart. Obviously, Krishna becomes pleased, and we have purification. So one starts feeling great ecstasy, and then one views everything from the point of view of love of God. One's vision gets changed, and then one sees everything with a certain color, the color of Krishna praying. Kavi also mentions that progress on this path takes place step by step. So it's not a very quick process. It takes time. It takes step by step, and and he compares it to the process of eating. So with every morsel that we eat, one feels increasing satisfaction, nourishment, and an alleviation of the hunger. So when you're eating, your hunger doesn't go straight away. You have to eat every bit you take in, helps to relieve the hunger. It's not like we just take a first bite and hunger's gone. Sometimes it does. Then you think something gone wrong here. We should be able to finish our meal. Then we should feel satisfied. So in the same way, when we surrender to Krishna and steadily continue to render devotional service to Him, then three things also increase simultaneously at a steady pace. So three things happen. The first is steadfast attachment for Krishna. So when you're following this process, which we mentioned, first and second thing we do, so we should get a result that shows that the process is working. The first is steadfast attachment for Krishna, and the second is the actual realization of the true nature of Krishna, the Jiva, Maya, and the interrelationships, and so on. So we understand who we are, we understand who God is, and what is the relationship. And thirdly, we also develop detachment from the material world. So as we get attached to Krishna, we get detached from Maya. So we can either serve Krishna, we can serve Maya. So as much as we attach to Krishna, that's how much we become detached from Maya. And One, of course, distinguishes between attachment and renunciation. So detachment is not renunciation, although in one sense that they mean the same thing, but one could draw a distinction. The renunciation could indicate that we actually physically give up objects of this world, where Prabhupada always says that we can use everything in Krishna's service. But in detachment, we may use the things of this world for the service of Krishna and not for our own sense enjoyment. So that's what we're giving up. We're renouncing sense enjoyment, and we're using, and so we become detached by not enjoying the products, items. We use them in Krishna's service. That's as simple as that. So this is what the answer Kavi gave. This is the highest good, and this is Bhagavad Dharma. That's what we should be doing. Now, then, secondly, the second question Maharaj Nimi asked was, what are the religious principles or dharma? Natural proclivities, sabhav, behavior is achar, speech, vakya, and outward symptoms, lakshana, of a Bhagavata. So, Vaishnava devotee of the Lord. So, what are his symptoms? He wants to know, how do you recognize a devotee, a pure devotee, Vaishnava? So now this is a significant question because it continues from where the first answer ends. Because in the first answer, we are supposed to become a Vaishnava, a devotee of the Lord by following the process. So how do you recognize uh, a devotee? So King Nimi wants to know, he wants to know more about the different categories of a devotee. He wants to know the particular symptoms of the devotee, of the body, mind, and speech, by which the different categories of the devotees can be identified. So he's asking that, is there different categories of devotees, different levels, and how do we recognize them? Now, Havi, second Yogendra, he speaks, and he's going to tell about the different types of devotees, and according to the category we can distinguish the different categories of a devotee. So Shri Habir said, the most advanced devotee sees within everything the soul of all souls, the Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. Consequently, he sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord and understands that everything that exists is eternally situated within the Lord. Within the material world, one's material body is always subject to birth and decay. Similarly, the life A, the pran, is harassed by hunger and thirst. The mind is always anxious. The intelligence hankers for that which cannot be obtained. And all of the senses are ultimately exhausted by constant struggle in the material nature. So that is our situation. So a person who is not bewildered by the inevitable miseries of material existence, which we are totally bombarded by, and who remains aloof from them simply by remembering the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is to be considered Bhagavad Pradhan, the foremost devotee of the Lord. So that's a symptom of a pure devotee, the topmost devotee. Now, an intermediate or a second class devotee called Madhyam Adhikari, first was Uttam Adhikari, now we're talking about Madhyam Adhikari, offers his love to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is a sincere friend to all of the devotees of the Lord, shows mercy to ignorant people who are innocent, and disregards those who are enemies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, whereas the Uttam Adhikari doesn't distinguish between different bodies, he just sees the Lord in each body. The Madhyam Adhikari, he sees different categories of people, but then he treats them accordingly, but obviously in a good way. And then we have the devotee, the third category, a devotee who faithfully engages in the worship of the deity in the temple but does not behave properly towards other devotees. So this is the lowest, the third class devotee. Devotee who faithfully engages in the worship of the deity in the temple but does not behave properly towards other devotees or people in general is called a Prakrita Bhakta, a materialistic devotee, and is considered to be the lowest position. So, we can introspect ourselves and see, where we fit in Are we relating with the devotees nicely? Are we relating with the deities nicely? Are we trying to help people, not judge them? We try to help people, different categories of people according to their capacity. So this is what we should be looking at. So Sri Prabhupada mentions that Uttam Bhagavat is that devotee who is most advanced in devotion service, one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me. I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. A person Krishna consciousness certainly sees Lord Krishna everywhere, and he sees everything in Krishna. Such a person may appear to see all separate manifestations of the material nature, excuse me, but in each and every instance, he is conscious of Krishna, knowing that everything is a manifestation of Krishna's energy. Nothing can exist without Krishna, and Krishna is the Lord of everything. This is the basic principle of Krishna consciousness. And a pure devotee is completely free from a tendency to enjoy things separately from the Lord service, as we said earlier. And he doesn't see anything in the universe as unfavorable because he sees everything as the expanded potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a devotee's purpose is in existing is to give pleasure somehow or other to the Supreme Lord. So everything that pure devotee experiences moment by moment increases his ecstatic love in desire to satisfy the transcendental sense of the Lord. So it's like when we're eating, so your satisfaction builds and builds. So okay, so that's two questions. Third question, Maharaj Nimi asked is, so what is the external energy of Vishnu, the Supreme Lord? So now he's talking about the obstacles that that come in our way when we try to become a pure devotee. So what is the external energy of Vishnu, the Supreme Lord? So King Nimi showed his eagerness to understand the actual nature of Maya in order to be safe from her future attempts to place him in the burning fire of material existence. So he's very smart. He knows he knows the process. He just wants the details from the nine Yogendras. And now Shri Antariksha said, that's the third Yogendra, Almighty our King, by activating the material elements, the primeval soul of all creation has sent forth all living beings in higher and lower species so that these conditioned souls can cultivate either sense gratification or ultimate liberation according to their desire. So it seems like that this material world is created for two things: sense gratification or material liberation. Take your pick. But actually, in fact, according to Srila Goswami, Jiva Goswami, the actual purpose of the Lord's creation is only one, not two. Although it seems like there's two reasons. We have a choice. You can enjoy, or you can aim for liberation. But Jiva Goswami says the actual purpose is only one: to facilitate the advancement of devotional service to the Lord Himself. That's the only reason why this material world is created. Although it is stated that the Lord facilitates sense gratification, it should be understood that the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not ultimately condone the foolishness of the conditioned soul. So God is not happy. It's not that He says, "Oh, have fun." He allows us to have fun, but He wants us to get liberated, come back home. So every living entity is part and parcel of Krishna, and in the Vedic literature, the Lord gives a regulative program so that the living beings can gradually exhaust their tendencies to be foolish and learn the value of surrender unto Him. The arrangement for sense gratification is ultimately meant to bring the living entities to the single purpose of going back home, back to Godhead. So there you are. So that is the main reason why this material world is, or universe, or Mahatattva, whatever you want to call it. That's the reason it's there. So we can go back home to Godhead. But sometimes we think God has created everything for our pleasure. We are the Lord's. We can do whatever we like, and this is the majority of the population thinks like that. That God has created everything for our gratification, and we should, use it to a max because God has given it to us. But He's given it to us so we can exhaust these, these endeavors or attitudes towards sense gratification, and then realize that they are only temporary and a waste of time, and then do the right thing and try and go back home. So the super soul enters the material bodies of the creative beings, activates the mind and senses, and thus causes the conditioned souls to approach the three modes of material nature or sense gratification. So, because this is the only reason we are here, we want to gratify ourselves. So, super soul enters the material bodies, and he activates us so we can enjoy. He's watch. Look at these people. They just love to enjoy themselves, and without Krishna. So he gives us that facility because we can't do anything ourselves. Even the senses are given by Krishna, but we misuse them. But we have a choice, but we misuse them for our own purpose. Actually, all materialistic activities are most undesirable, but the conditioned soul, under the influence of illusion, sees no apparent distinction between good and bad, pleasing and displeasing, and so on. The Lord, the Super Soul, having entered the collective and individual consciousness of living entities, knows the heart of everyone. He knows what your desires are, and he allows you to, fulfill those desires. Therefore, but when a sincere soul aspires for spiritual perfection, so the super soul knows that now that you're ready, you had enough of material gratification, now you want spiritual perfection. The Lord frees that person from material bondage and arouses his propensity to serve the Lord of Vaikuntha. Love of God flourishes in that variegated flavors of tranquil enjoyment. The super soul is waiting for us to exhaust our propensity for sense gratification, turn around and look at him like the two birds on a tree. So he's watching, he says, okay, you keep going, mate. Enjoy yourself. I'm here, I'm still here with you, I'll always be here with you. When you're finished looking on that side, then you turn around and you look at me, and then start your spiritual perfection. Now that's three questions, and going a little bit over time. There's one discussion as well. The fourth question Maharaja Nimi asks is, how can one become disassociated from this Maya then? Now he wants to know that this Maya is so strong, and we get caught up, and even the super soul is triggering things that we are enjoying our senses. So how can we become dissociated from this Maya? So King Nimi said, "Oh great sage, please explain how even a foolish materialist can easily cross over the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord, which is always insurmountable for those who are not self-controlled." So Srila Prabhupada explains that accepting the roles of male and female in human society, the conditioned souls unite in their relationships, thus they constantly make material endeavors to eliminate their unhappiness and unlimitedly increase their pleasure, but one should see that they inevitably achieve exactly the opposite result. So, in other words, their happiness inevitably vanishes, and as they grow older, the material discomfort increases. So, we can't enjoy forever. Our senses, our body capacity reduces with age. So, you would have to give them up anyway, sooner or later. You can't possibly go on like somebody in their 20s having fun. You can't do that. Slowly, eventually. So give up before the doctors tell us to give up, or Krishna, or time in the time in the form of death stops us. Best we stop ourselves. So one cannot find permanent happiness even on the heavenly planets, which can attain which one can attain in the next life by ritualistic ceremonies and sacrifices. Even in material heaven, the living entity is disturbed by rivalry with his equals and envy of those superior to him. So even they, in the heavens, people are jealous of each other. And since one's residence in heaven is finished with the exhaustion of pious spiritual activities, the denizens of heaven are afflicted by fear. They're anticipating the destruction of their heavenly life. Thus, they resemble kings who, though enviously admired by ordinary citizens, are constantly harassed by enemy kings, and who therefore never attain actual happiness. So they're always worried that they're going to lose their place, their position, because it's all temporary. They realize that even when you're in heaven, having so much fun, but you know that sooner or later you're going to have to go back to the lower planets. So you're never really that happy because the fear is constantly in your mind. So once you learn how to associate with the devotees of the Lord by gathering with them to chant the glories of the Lord. So this is the process, because this process is most purifying. As devotees thus develop their loving relationship, friendship, they feel mutual happiness and satisfaction, and by thus encouraging one another, they're able to give up material sense gratification, which is the cause of all suffering. So this is the way. So this is explained that the after the four questions, the answer really is association of pure devotees, so association of devotees, and not association of Maya, because we need to learn from other people as well. We get inspiration from other devotees how to move forward. So that is up to now. That is the explanation, and so those are five questions we can discuss next week, and then after week after that we'll talk about Maharaj Nimi getting cursed by Sage Vishisht. So it's very interesting, and what they explained so far is really good. I hope it made some kind of sense to everyone. And let's have a quick chat about this. Uh, Venkat Prabhu, you want to say something? Are you there?
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Um, Thanks for lovely class, Prabhu, but I don't have much to say anything. But as you said that we need to maybe progress in our spiritual life, being in touch with more
Sure,
devotees. Yeah.
sure. Excellent, excellent. Okay, Jay Prabhu?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. It's a lot to take in there, but I'll just make a few
Okay.
points. So the highest supreme good is Bhagavad Dharma, which is devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So, so, one should offer everything one does to the Supreme Lord with the topmost devotee is the one that sees the Lord in everyone and sees everything in the Lord. And the illusory, the Maya is the illusion, this material creation and actually sense enjoyment. So um, one can either enjoy the material world or decide for liberation. I mean, we either serve Maya or serve the Lord.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The last one was how can one get away from Maya? Well, I think it's association with devotees and glorifying, remembering the Lord. I think so. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Prabhu. You understood that very well. Because obviously we're discussing this, it's very purifying just to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, and even on so to understand exactly what we're learning. That's even better. So you're absolutely right. So association devotees and hearing and chanting. So this thing comes again and again and again explained to us that that's what we have to do, and that's what we're doing. Actually, we are hearing and we are chanting. Even giving class is like chanting. So that's good. Um, I think we have our Prem Prakash Prabhu. Are you there, Prabhu? Jai. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
First of all, before we start, wanna say thank you for the wonderful program yesterday. Excellent. You and Mataji have reinvented yourselves and done a wonderful service to Guru Maharaj, and I think you're gonna get a lot of mercy out of this. So thank you so much,
Thank
and
you.
thank you for engaging us as well.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you for allowing us to serve you and Guru Maharaj. It it was not possible by our efforts to go on for 16 hours. That's pretty understood. Until
Excellent.
the mercy of Guru Maharaj, we couldn't have done it. So
Fantastic. I think you surpassed anyone's expectation. I mean, I don't think I could go 16 hours. Nobody imagines themselves going for 16 hours. And you two, it wasn't 16 hours. You're probably up by 3 o'clock in the morning or something, and 2 o'clock in the morning to get all set up.
No,
And then
we slept around that time. Yeah.
yeah, amazing, amazing. Well done. Really good. Sorry, carry on, Ruben.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So, sorry, I joined a bit late. I mean, because it was late yesterday night, and then, so, but I understand that from my understanding, whatever it is, yeah, small understanding, is that the same questions were asked to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, very similar questions that who who is a pure devotee, who is a devotee basically, and then it was answered over the period of 3 years time that who is a devotee, saying that a person who just chant for a single time is a devotee. A person who actually he's he's a he's Kanishta Adhikari, then it goes to Madhyamate Adhikari next year. Another person who chants at least for a couple of times, sorry, who actually sees everywhere. He chants. He always chants basically the holy name, that is Madhyam Adhikari, and then finally the person who chants, even the person, by seeing someone, by seeing a Uttama Adhikari, the person starts chanting. So that is who he's a he's a Uttama Adhikari. That is also explained in Nectar of Instructions by Srila Rupa Goswami. So with further definition basically, which goes more deep, that how Uttamadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, and Kanishadhikari behave, and it is exactly the same thing which is mentioned over here.
Yeah.
So that's really wonderful. Also, Jiva Goswami's explanation that material world is a place to reform. Prabhupada said that it's a place to suffer, and the suffering is forgetting Krishna. That is the biggest suffering, that we have forgotten Krishna. Uh, Everyone is eternal part and parcel. Every jiva is eternal part and parcel of Krishna. And when jiva has a desire to enjoy, which is not wrong, but enjoy without Krishna, they fall into material planes. So we we have fallen somehow into this material plane, and not knowing what pleasure it has to serve Krishna basically, and we are just trying to enjoy our best uh, in this material plane. Thing is, like, we are just like small batteries. We'll just go on and then say that we want to enjoy, and then that battery dies away. So if we get connected to the eternal power source, the battery never dies away. So
Yes.
once we get connected to Krishna, then the battery doesn't die away. Enough power, enough charge, enough pleasure to start serving Krishna, and that's not it. And that's not it basically. The person has enough power to go back to home. At the moment Krishna says that, okay, you want to enjoy, given a small bit of power of discretion to judge between good and bad, go in material world and enjoy. But he's just like a father, and he's like such a nice father, Shrohit basically, always wishing well for us. He's there. We are doing whatever bad, I mean worst, heinous activities what we have done over past, and we might still be doing. But then he's watching us, and he's watching so carefully, and he's concerned basically. Anyone who thinks like anyone who gets hurt, just like a child goes to garden and starts playing, the parent might be watching from the window, the father might be watching in the window, and when he gets hurt basically, Krishna comes running right to the devotee to save him basically. So even if we are whatever we are doing, he is still watching us, he is still part of us, he is still, if we are enjoying or suffering basically, he is still very close to us, with us. And that's something which is very merciful basically. He is the most merciful, that he's still watching us. And once we say that, okay, Papa, that's enough, I mean, that's, we have played enough, I'm satisfied now. I don't want to do anything. I'm done with my play. Please, let's go back to home. And he takes us back. So that's something very, very, very much thoughtful, basically, that we are enjoying, but once we say that we are done with this enjoyment, we don't want to enjoy anymore. um, we just want to be connected with you, and that's when he takes away. The process is what Krishna, the process to realize that we are done with our play is what is Krishna consciousness. That's what Acharya has given us. And that's what that's what I have to say, Prabhuji. Thanking you, Mataji, and everyone who participated yesterday. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for a wonderful explanation. Yeah, very nicely put. Rukmani Mataji, you want to say something? Haribol?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, it was very good class. King Vimy, no? King Vimy.
Ji.
Very good character, and compared to Yayati.
Yeah. Yes, yes.
Yes, good qualification. And in olden days, in those era, they had so long life. I'm very much surprised about the life. Thousands of years they were living on the earth. And now in today's world, we only expect 50 only, then even that is better. So it's good to learn so much from the Bhagavatam.
Yes, very exalted devotees. I mean, they've done the work for us by asking the questions from the pure devotees, haven't they? You know, whether they're asking Shiva or asking Vishandev or asking Narayan or asking Brahma or asking Narad. They've done the work for us, and it's all mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam for us to learn from, isn't it? We can learn from that, and if we don't understand something, then we can ask the devotees, the current devotees, the contemporary devotees, to explain to us, because sometimes we can't understand ourselves. It might be a bit complicated. So yeah, you're right. There's so much to learn, and we should take advantage of that. And hear classes as well, read and hear, and try to understand, and then try to apply. So thank you so much, Mataji.
Yeah, Haribol.
Sureshi Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, how are you?
What I can say is we are born with the three modes of material nature,
Yeah.
goodness, passion, and ignorance. And Bhagavad Gita is the same teaching as Lord Maharaj Nimi telling, Yogendran telling Maharaj Nimi that you have to get out of this illusionary energy.
Yes. Yeah, Mataji.
To see everybody equal, just like it says in Bhagavad Gita, Vidya Vinay Sampane Brahmane Gavi Hastani Shuchino Chopakate Pandita Darshana. That it tell the means to get out of this illusory energy.
Yes.
And get liberated. So if you, like you explained, there's three kind of devotees. And then the best devotee is who sees everybody with equal eyes. And then whatever you do it for Krishna. If you do it for Maya, then you get conditioned. If you do it for Krishna, you get liberated. And then it's Maya that is all illusion, and it's all temporary. Whatever we're doing is we satisfying our senses, but we should satisfy Krishna's senses. And we identify ourselves with the body, children, home, everything. That's why we have to have birth again, birth and death, repeated birth and death, and the desire. We desire for so many things. We sometimes say our desire is not fulfilled in this life. Then we have to born again, and then we are conditioned, and that's how you go on and on again. So that's why the teaching Bhagavad Dharma is what to do. Bhagavad Dharma is like saving Krishna, is devotional service actually, because we are part and parcel of Krishna. We save Krishna, that's our dharma, that's our duty.
Sure.
And to save the devotees and have association with devotees, read the books, etc. So that then we can get out of this illusory energy and get liberated. Even Vasudev, he wasn't liberated. That's why he asked the question to Narad Muni. And because he said he asked for son, but he didn't ask for liberation. And then he said what he should do. And that's how Narad Muni started telling the story, discussion between Maharaja Nimi and Yogendras.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
good.
thank you.
Thank you so much, Modi. Anybody else like to add something? Okay.
Sorry?
Shall we do a couple of rounds? Are you ready to
Okay.
do some rounds?
Okay.
Thank you. Man.
नमः ओम विष्णु पदाया कृष्ण साया भूतले श्रीमती भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवान पिचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पश्चाता देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद